Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the Morehammer podcast, your bi-weekly Warhammer podcast where we chat all things about the hobby. This week we are back with a little bit of news, and we're angry about drop pods, and we have a lot of your community questions to answer, so that's going to be some of our main topics for the show this week. To catch up on those. But as always, I am one of your hosts, wargamingluke, and I'm joined as always by our local psyker, Simon, aka the Hobby Waffle, and of course Ben, bringing the Benergy 90% geek. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm orking today. I'm playing with some orcs. We'll be building some bits while we're doing this.
All good. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Is that 40k orcs, Ben? Or...
Yeah, I'm going to build myself some beast snagger boys.
Ooh, very nice.
I have two cats that are trying to help me as well, which can only end well.
Oh, don't talk to me about cats. She's crazy. We've adopted a demon in disguise. Not Mao Ying, because that name didn't wash. She's called.
So if you were to fit your cat to one of the 4 chaos gods, Si, what would you say? What would she be? Would it be maybe Slanesh? Lure you in and then cause you pain.
Possibly, yeah. She's also the changer of ways because she changes what she's doing all the time.
Oh,
she's as noisy as a berserker on a charge. Yeah, she's a nutcase in a lovely way, but she's an absolute nutcase.
Nice. If you're joining us though, guys, whether you're new or not to the podcast, make sure that you are, of course, subscribing to us on the channel. If you're listening to us over or watching us now over on Spotify, we're over there as well. Make sure you're following us there. And of course, please do share around the videos and things, guys. It always helps out a bunch. And I know in the next month or two, hopefully going to be doing, because I know we're nearing our 50th episode soon in the next couple of months. So we're planning on doing another biggest prize giveaway we'll have done yet for the channel, and they always help out a bunch as well to pull other new viewers in and things and new people to join our amazing community. Which also brings me to our Discord channel. You're always welcome to check out that, guys. The links are always in the description for those things, and come and join in the chat because it's always great to be chatting with you guys over there and seeing what you've been up to in the hobby as well. So do join us there. But for this week's episode, guys, as I say, a little bit of news to get into. So Ben, what is it time for?
And now the news.
Fantastic. And sadly, we are going to start off with, as our intro kind of led you to believe here, we have got new drop pods, which clearly we're not big enough. I think they know. I think they know this wasn't that big a deal, and that people would kind of be annoyed with this because they didn't bother.
Well, they announced it like a drop pod launch, didn't they? It just came out of nowhere and smashed into the Warhammer community website.
Yep.
But I mean, was this really necessary?
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here whilst this loads. I've built 5 of the existing plastic drop pods. Like at one point, I had a full. I think it was late 7th, early 8th edition, I had a full drop pod army of my Nova Marines with Deathwatch allies. I had 2 Deathwatch drop pods, 3 Nova Marine drop pods, and I basically deep struck all of my army turn 1, which was a lot of fun. Building the kit was not a lot of fun. I may have cursed, thrown bits of them across the room at several points. They were by far, I think I've even said in a previous video of mine, that they are by far one of the most annoying kits Games Workshop ever produced to build. So, was there a need for a new model? Arguably, just in terms of if it really is easier to build than the previous one, then yes. Am I impressed by the model that they're offering, which comes with the doors only deployed out, which good luck storing that.
Well, I'll be talking about that in a minute, yeah. I mean, it's the same, people have already done comparisons, so it's the same size as the existing drop pod.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you can add debris where it looks like it's smashed into the ground and the doors have slammed open. They've taken away the weapons. All right, now it's just a piece of terrain, you could argue. I can bet you any money that the bottom... Let's whack my mic, why don't you, sorry? I can bet you any money the bottom of those doors are not detailed. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's details on them and some intrepid modelers out there can fix the doors into place.
It flush to the ground.
I reckon it's probably just flat, yeah. It's just
yeah. hopefully the thrusters are still there, because then somebody will make aftermarket doors, hopefully. But I wouldn't put it past them to make the bottom flat so it sits nicely on the tabletop.
More
And
like a
then
terrain
those
piece.
doors are flat on the bottom. I know the terrain's optional, which is pretty cool. So that does make me wonder, is there anything on the doors? Because if you don't have that rubble there, is it just going to be a smooth surface, or is there going to be something else there? But
I don't
it's
think
just
so.
a bit meh. There's so much more they could have done. So much more they could have done before this.
It should hopefully be obviously a lot easier to build. They're
It
giving you
couldn't be much
2 in
more
1
difficult.
box as well, which is quite cool.
They are giving you 2 in 1 box. I think that they
Fair.
give you 2 in 1 box when they want to jack the price, and they know that if they sell you one, they're unlikely to sell you a second. So,
And is there going to be
to
some
buy
janky
2,
rule where you can't have 10 in a drop pod? So max capacity 8 because the Primaris Marines. By the way,
this is,
I doubt it.
I was saying to Simon before we started at some point, and we're not going to do it now, but because it'll go on for ages. But one of these episodes, we're going to have to do a main topic on the way list building is for the main 2 games at the moment, because it's really poor.
Name 3 games, please. There's 3 games in this relationship.
Wait. But Old World's good, Ben. The list building's good for Old
Exactly.
World.
We're going to talk about the main 2 games. There are 3 games.
Yeah. But I'm saying we can do a main topic based on how they can learn from Old World with the list building for sure, because it really is bad at the moment. And like Size just said, I've just bought one of the old Start collecting boxes with I think it's the Impulsor, the hovering Rhino.
Yeah.
And it's transport capacity 7. And like Size just said, it would not shock me if they did something stupid with a drop pod.
Yeah, they're not Plague Marines, for God's sake.
It's got 5 doors. For my money, that means it can transport 10 guys, 2 for each door, because that's how it always used to be. My problem with it is this, I suppose. Rules-wise, drop pods are not massively supported in 10th edition. I mean, in terms of there isn't...
That was going to be my other thing to add.
You can only deploy them if you're more than 9 inches away from an enemy, which, if you've got to deploy them with the doors outward like that, good luck. You might as well just deploy them in your own deployment zone, because you're not going to get them much of anywhere else, especially unless you're playing at like a tournament level where terrain is essentially like 3 pieces of L-shaped MDF, and that's about it. You're not, on a board like I would play on, which, got a decent amount of terrain because you want to try and create like a narrative setting in which your toy soldiers are going to march around kicking the snot out of each other, you're going to struggle to get it down. At least with the old one, you could crash into a building, the doors could slant open, partway open up against a piece of terrain or whatever. There was no requirement that the doors be all the way down, flush with the board. This one, there is going to be.
Yeah, it reeks of good intentions, but it's like it's just sucking the joy out of everything. I mean, some people like to have a drop pod on the shelf with the doors closed. Like it's displayed in the codex and it shows the artwork.
See the old ones,
people
by
like
the way,
to
selling
paint.
out quick now.
Yeah,
my drop pods have
doors.
got they've all got like the Nova Marine symbol painted on them. Free-handed, the kind of the Starburst Nova Marine symbol on every door.
Exactly.
The Inquisition ones have got big silver eyes on them and stuff. The Inquisition eye, not Eye of Chaos.
Yeah, but no, it's just like, good luck carrying that. You'd be walking into a tournament if you had a drop pod army.
Yeah.
With what looks like a drum kit. And like, what have you brought? Why have you brought a drum kit? No, it's just my drop pods, mate.
You're not going to be able to deploy a drop pod army as well. Bear in mind that 40k is played on a smaller table now than it was when I was a kid. It's not played on a 6x4 anymore. It's played on, 54 by 32 and a half or whatever the hell. Old grub
this will help solve the rules problem. No, just measure from the center of the drop pod. There you go, done.
Yeah.
Save you 3 years of R&D.
Yeah.
I mean, this was going to be my thing from the off, really, which you've already said, Ben. Just, you've got to change the rules for them if you want people to buy these new ones, because nobody's going to. At least not people who know what the rules are.
If the rules were, you can deep strike with a drop pod anywhere. Like if I can deep strike, a squad of Infernus Marines or something right next to an enemy squad, or hop out the pod and go,
where you want.
Hi, we're all in, 6-inch range with, pyre cannons. That's good fun. Equally, if I can, march a squad of, what are the ones with you can't put aggressors in these anyway, so it doesn't matter. You can't put aggressors in. But equally, something else that is equally as shooty. If I can march those out and hammer away, fantastic. Otherwise, I can't see what you. I suppose. I mean, if they had like a high objective control statistic, and you could deep strike them onto objectives, so your opponent's got to kill them. But that's not the point of a drop pod. The point of a drop pod is to deploy Space Marines rapidly into
it's a
combat.
shock assault to get them where you want. Yeah, I mean, look at the new Space Wolves, the Grey Hunters, and the Blood Claws.
Yeah,
it'd be epic to be able to just smash them down right where you want it and just cause mayhem. Let the Blood Claws run riot.
Like I used to be able to do 7th and 8th edition. I was really happy doing that. You know, my drop pod squads back then. I'm going to just briefly storytell. My drop pod squads back then were 2 Death Watch kill teams, and back then there were only Death Watch kill teams, so they were all armed with things like frag cannons and heavy bolter, heavy flamers, and all of the other lovely stuff that you could cram into Death Watch back then. And then the other squads there was one that was, we did this right, a multi-melter, a melter gun, and a combi melter tactical squad was in one. And then I would run a command squad that was a selection of special weapons with a captain, with a combi plasma, and no, it wasn't a combi plasma. There was a special character that had been published in one of the Forge World Badab books that I used to take in that command squad because he had a really cool like plasma gun and a librarian. And then the third squad was Sternguard with a librarian. And I would just drop those in right next behind enemy lines and go, haha, right, hi, daka 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 boom. And it was great fun. I mean, maybe not so much for my opponents, but it was great fun for me. That was, I'd gone to the trouble of the arduous pain of building those drop pods.
Yeah.
Earned the right to unleash boltery and flamey death at close range.
And if they're worried about drop pods coming in too close and that getting a bit too much, there's other ways you can like balance it.
Yeah, just tweak it.
I mean, I say bring back in the scatter dice, man. Scatter some drop pods on the field. That'd be hilarious.
We're going to come across as properly ranty this, and it's not meant to because it does look nice, but it's just here's what we think is going to be a good idea, and everybody else going no. Rules I mean, at this point, you might as well just have them all in transports and go screaming up the board.
Metal boxes. The Rhino Rush days, just stick everybody in a Rhino.
To be fair, it's not good when we're having a go at it because, to be honest, usually on here we're pretty positive.
Yeah, I mean,
so yes.
I thought about doing a video about this because I'm usually dead positive and I tend not to slag anything off even if I don't like it. And I thought if I do a video about this drop pod, I'll end up ranting about it. So I'm not going to do it because I don't want to do that kind of content. There's just old YouTubers out there who are like, "Oh my god, they've killed drop pods. That's it." I don't want to be that kind of.
This is the 40k as we know it.
You need to do a short video with Old Man Simon and do.
The old man needs to come back.
Instead of get off my lawn, do get off my drop pod.
We'll just have regular Simon agreeing with Old Man Simon for once. Yes, you know what? You're right. These are a bit rubbish.
Back in my day, doors used to open.
Back in my day, they were resin originally. They were Forge World resin,
and you could drop a dreadnought right where you wanted it as well.
If you dropped a Forge World dreadnought, you knew about it.
Oh, that's true.
But Forge World drop pod, I mean.
If you dropped a Metal Furioso dreadnought, you knew about it as well. It used to explode.
Furioso dreadnoughts
held together with super glue and hope.
Yeah. Right. Shall we move on from this depressing topic?
Complaints aside, the rubble looks great. It's nice that it can be taken off. We just need to see the bottom of it, don't we?
Yeah, we'll wait and see with that. However, we shall move on, as Ben said. Horus Heresy Thursday. And the last one we had was we got these new Tarantula missile batteries. I think we already had the gun platforms, didn't we? Versions of these.
Something like that. Again, I'm massively underwhelmed by latest Horus Heresy have a remote missile platform. Great. That's
the first thing I thought when I saw these was
Legion Praetors.
They'll look nice on top of a Rhino conversion.
Well, that's what I've been thinking about.
Make myself some whirlwinds.
That's true. They would look quite cool on top of a Rhino as a whirlwind.
That, or if you're making some sort of scenery or whatever, and you want to make like a bunker and some walls or whatever, there'd be great gun emplacements on them.
Yeah, I mean they do look pretty cool. To be fair, I like there's 2 variations of it as well. And if you were knocking up some terrain with sort of defensive emplacements, these would look really good.
Yeah, Sisters of Battle Exorcist without the organ on top. Just have a bunch of these strapped to the top of the Sisters of Battle Rhino, and that would look pretty cool.
Yeah, that's it. But moving on, we have some more Necromunda.
This one I think is quite cool. I quite
Yeah, the
like
Whisperer
these models.
Merchant and the Psychoteric Thrall. There we go. That's those two.
I think
It's
these are-
nice to see the old school style auto gun as well. I like that.
I like the lore for the Psychoteric Thrall. I think that's a particularly cool addition to the Necromunda kind of ongoing kind of noirish horror setting. So anyone who hasn't read the lore on this, he's essentially being controlled by psychic beings from the depths of the sump. And they've essentially rewired him and made him essentially a remote control puppet that they can send up into the upper hive. Well, into the underhive, which is to them the upper hive. I think that's really cool.
It's
It kind of
pretty
leaves
dark.
the way open to, well, who are these beings and what are they up to? And why are they taking people over and making them into robot puppets?
And from what it was
I
saying,
do love
that,
how there's like a proper shoe thief on Necromunda, though, isn't there? There's loads of miniatures that have only got one shoe on.
Oh,
It just
okay.
reminds me. Somebody's like,
yeah.
it's the caddy off Happy Gilmore when he's like slightly down into the left. Right? That's because you got one shoe on. There's a shoe thief on Necromunda.
Games Workshop, Christmas miniature. I want the Necromunda shoe thief. I just want a guy with a sack full of shoes. Like maybe it's a grot or something. Maybe it's the Red Gobbo and he's got just a sack of shoes.
Yeah, I guess where I've been.
He's the one who's
Necromunda,
been
look at all these
stealing all
shoes.
the shoes on Necromunda.
He's got a sack of shoes, and then he's also got lots of the laces tied to him on different places, different shoes tied to his body as well. Yeah, yeah, I'll be up for that.
That's canon. I'm up for that now. There is the Red Gobbo is Necromunda's shoe thief.
And the only weapons he actually has are on his shoes. You know, you get the knife shoes that kind of like the dagger comes out the shoe. That's the only weapons he has. Do it, GW.
No,
You heard it here first.
Well, he's got a pistol that shoots tiny shoes, and he calls it his shooter.
Oh god. Oh dear. It's beginning of a new week, everybody. All right.
That's what everybody
You've ever read the
watch
book
the YouTube
Soul Hunt?
stats.
If
That's
you've
the point
ever
where
read Soul
everyone's
Hunter.
switched off.
That's what it's. That's what Soul Hunter's about. If you've never read it, honest.
The Red Gobbo stealing people's shoes.
That was what really happened. The uprising.
Tongue in cheek.
Anyway, moving on to tactical rocks.
They should
Yes.
release this. They absolutely. I would buy this.
Yeah. So
We do know, by the way, but we still wanted to have it on.
Yeah, this was their April Fool's prank, but it is genuinely something that I think if they were to sell it, people would buy it. I'd buy it. Rock up to tournaments,
What would
slap that down, and step up on
Or
it.
would you just stand in your window glaring disapprovingly at people?
I think I'd strike a variety of Warhammer poses.
yeah, it's
leaning
pretty
on
cool.
sword like it's a walking stick or something.
It's gonna be one of
you
them
see
things as well.
it's advertising like K's catalogue and stuff. We're going back a bit now, but that's what they need to be standing on, don't
K's
they?
catalogue.
Tactical rock.
Well, it's going to be good for like cosplayers and stuff as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They
you'd
can
have
have some
these little
add-ons.
photo
Like,
booths.
I can't wait
Yeah.
actually for some people to be taking pictures in their cosplay on these and trying to pull it off, making it look like an actual miniature. So like nobody can tell the difference, kind of thing. Is that an actual new miniature or something? Because if you do it perfectly in front of like a white background or something, like you could probably pull it off. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Like if they did another Warhammer Fest, if they had a variety of these that you could pose standing on, I think that would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
cool.
I bet you somebody will make these now. They've seen this and thought, I want to 3D print that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As if somebody hasn't already done it. But yes, for sure. I believe that really is a majority of what we have for the news this week. As I said, there isn't a hell of
We're
a
not
lot.
missing something.
No, not from what I've gone through anyway. Not in
Alright.
terms of any new reveals or like anything like that. I know we don't usually touch too much on rules on here. There's been quite a few different things that have come out to do with the Soul Blight, like new detachments and things like that, and
Oh,
stuff to do with the
Legions
rules.
Imperialis got an update, didn't it? It got an FAQ.
Yeah,
Oh, the
it's got an
FAQ, yeah.
FAQ.
Yeah. It's pretty
I
decent,
can't.
actually.
Hey, yeah, you've had a look at it.
Yeah, it seems all right.
Yeah.
Couple of changes to rules about garrisoning buildings and stuff like that and being in base contact.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems pretty positive.
Oh, that's good then. I think since the last episode, AOS had their latest sort of data set update and FAQ, and there was a few bits and bobs in there. I can't remember right now exactly the stuff that I found to be quite good, really. But there's been a few, as always, points changes, things like that. But nothing major, to be honest, compared to the last one. Because I think in about 2 months' time, we're gonna get the new General's Handbook anyway. So I think that's why they haven't done too much. But yeah, guys, that's that. I think we can probably touch on a bit maybe of hobbying that we've been up to before we go into your community questions this week, guys, watching and listening. Ben, I've got yours up first this week, so
okay, let's see what you cue it up and I'll talk about it. Okay, so in line with the fact that I'm building beast snaggers at the moment, I got the orc beast snagger set. I think it was it released in 7th? No, 7th, 8th? Was that when beast snaggers released? Was it 9th?
Might have been early 9th.
I think
it was 9th. Yeah, so I got the beast snaggers army set when 9th edition orcs launched, and I just haven't gotten around to painting them or getting them built up.
It's a cool box, to be fair.
It is. It's a cool box. This guy isn't actually in it, but I got him to go with it. He was a birthday present from my stepbrother about 2 years ago, and I finally got him painted. Yes, so here's my box on Beast Snagger.
I love the
Mushroomosaurus.
We've painted the cloak on him, Ben, the feather cloak. That's cool.
Yeah, I kind of wanted everything to be brightly coloured, and I didn't, because I was going to do all the squigs, very red. I didn't want to have anything that was kind of red on the rest of the models. I wanted it to be kind of contrasting colours. But I'm planning a game against a buddy of mine, Murray, who appears on my Tale of Four Gamers videos way back. We were talking about getting together and doing a kind of a linked trio of games. So we're gonna, because he's got both Epic 40,000 and Battlefleet Gothic, much like I do. And in fact, actually, his Battlefleet Gothic fleet and his Epic army are both versions of his 40k Space Marine army. So it's kind of the same army in all 3 editions. I said, well, I've got orcs for Gothic, I've got orcs for Epic, I've got some orcs for 40k. Let's do a game. 1,000 points of Gothic, 1,000 points of Epic, 1,000 points of 40k. So what I'm working on doing is replicating one of the detachments from Epic 40k in the kind of 40k scale. Whereas my Epic Orc army's got a whole bunch of boar boys and like a war boss on a boar and squigoths and stuff, I thought, okay, cool. That's the opportunity to get my beast staggers done, to represent kind of the boar boys and stuff in 40k scale. So he's going to be kind of the leader of that boar boys detachment, except actually, when you scale him up, it turns out that it's actually a squig rather than a war boar that he's riding around on. But I'm getting excited for it. It's going to be a good laugh when we get around to doing it. And I'm hoping to get some orcs painted. Anybody who is over on Blue Sky, Andy Clark, not the author, the other Andy Clark, is running. He runs a miniature of the month challenge. He is the nerdling herder. For anybody who isn't already a follower of him, you should go follow him.
I can hear the tune in my head now.
Yes. So he does a challenge every month, kind of for just fun and bragging rights, called Mini of the Month, where he sets a theme and then unleashes a horde of gamers to go away and paint stuff. And then end of the month, he shares all their pictures, and basically whoever gets the most likes and like reposts of their miniature, they win Mini of the Month, and they get bragging rights for that month. So his theme for this month is he put together 2 D12 charts of less commonly used Space Marine names and more commonly used Space Marine names, and challenge people to roll 2d12 and combine them to make what he calls the most cursed foundings. So I rolled 3 times, and I think I got the Dark Cows, the Silver Hedgehogs, and the Banana Skulls. And as soon as I heard that, the theme tune was just there in my head. So I rummaged through my bits box, found that I had a spare little kind of push-fit Reaver kit kicking around. And my Mini of the Month entry is going to be a Reaver Brother of the Banana Skulls chapter, named after one of the most terrible predators of old Terra that thankfully is now extinct, because otherwise it would just be devastating to the Imperial ecosystem on Terra. But yes, the banana, it said, could split its prey in half with a single blow. And thus the Space Marine chapter is named in honor of this ancient, terrible Earth predator.
Please tell me that's Brother Eric.
Of course it's Brother Eric. They're all called Eric. No, I thought it would be quite cool to have almost like Lower Decks from Star Trek, a chapter that is very clearly not taken seriously by everybody else, but takes themselves very seriously. So yes, they're all going to have I'm having to resist the urge to do an actual army of these now, because it is quite a fun colour scheme to paint, it turns out, bright blue and yellow.
Let me guess, is that Talasar blue and Nazdrag yellow?
Not quite Nazdrag, you're close. It's Talasar blue. No, it's not even. No, it's not. No, it is Imperial Fist, but it is a Sherman blue.
Oh, okay.
It's a Sherman blue, and then I've just added a couple of horned skull into the skull.
This guy looks like he could be the new generation of He-Man villain.
No, seriously, I'm genuinely having to resist the urge to get like a bunch of blade guard and arm them with big double-handed axes and have them, like with cloaks that are shaped like banana peels and stuff, and have them marching to war across the board, declaring,
You have to be speaking like worms with a banana bomb. I'll get you.
Yeah. Lob this guy in there.
Hand grenades shaped like bananas. Yes. Okay. So onto slightly less silly things. I've also been working on my Space Hulk stuff. Yes. So actually this is one of the new Gene Stealers because I've got a whole bunch of the Space Hulk Gene Stealers that are already painted, but I've wanted to add some of the new Gene Stealer models because they are just so lovely. And I was going to add them for my Gene Stealer cult anyway. But I've got the first 5 Terminators finished and a bunch of Gene Stealers. Yeah, here was a very blurry potato cam shot because I haven't managed to get a better shot of them yet. But this is the first 5 Space Hulk Terminators done. And a bunch of the Gene Stealers done. So I'm hoping to soon film playing through the first mission from the Space Hulk books.
Awesome.
And yeah, that I think, is that everything? No, there is one more thing. Yes, I've also finished.
We've all been very busy this month.
Well, I guess because there's not been that much in the way of kind of releases and stuff to distract me, so I've just been getting on with painting. Yeah, I finished my Spyros. So here's my Aurus, the last of my Spider-Man villains, the Spider Slayers, is done. I haven't managed to get a game in with these yet. I've kind of been putting shouts out to some of my friends here in Reading, kind of going, hey, anyone want to game in Necromunda? Yes, I'm bringing Spyros. No, come back.
I'm bringing Spider Foes.
There is my Spider Slayers, Spyros. I'm really chuffed with how they've come out. I really like the kind of bright colour schemes on them.
Nah, they're really nice, mate. Well done. Good job.
That is everything. I think that is now everything.
No worries. You definitely need to get like an actual Spider-Man mini now from Marvel's Protocol and just put him in an image with them. Do some sort of diorama with them.
Well, I think because he's probably a slightly smaller scale than the rest of them as well, so he would look genuinely intimidating compared to them.
I know the Marvel Crisis Protocol minis are, I think they're slightly larger scale than 40k, but because these guys are generally bigger than like a standard guy, probably would fit perfectly.
Yeah, I think the Crisis Protocol ones are similar to Shatterpoint, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
Similar sort of scale.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Sai, we'll go into yours because I've got straight up for you some. You've been working on some Star Wars.
Almost as if you planned that segue.
Yeah. So I've been finishing off some of the core set on Captain Rex. I'd already done the 501st clones, so I finally finished Rex, got him done.
Really nice job on him, mate.
Yeah, I painted the kill markings on the helmet as well, but I only did one set. The hash marks because it was really hard to do, and I thought I'm not painting anymore. I'm pretty pleased with how that's turned out. To be fair,
it's turned out really nice.
I did paint these ages ago, these droids, but I actually finished them off properly by weathering the blasters, and I did some highlights on their heads and shoulders, but you can't really see because I've not touched up the picture. So they were like 90% done months ago, and I finally finished them off. But the ones I've been working on mainly, there's a squad box with Darth Vader, 2 stormtroopers and a stormtrooper sergeant. So that's what I've been working on over the last couple of weeks. I've finally finished these ones. These are really good fun to paint. Really, really nice. Especially the sergeant as well. Yeah, quite proud of these. Just got Vader to do next. I've been working on the snowtroopers as well. That's just current whip at the minute.
They're nice.
Some Valhalla and Blizzard on the bases and do some final highlighting and then just satin varnishing and matte down the dusters, the coats. But yeah, they're really cool.
Very, very cool.
But yeah, lots of Shatterpoint stuff on the desk at the minute. I've got loads of other stuff to do.
So the snowtroopers, who do they come in a set with? Is that with Vader?
No, you get the 2 snowtroopers at the back there. You get the snowtrooper lieutenant, and then you get General Veers.
Oh, okay. But that thing is, General Veers doesn't dismount from his AT-AT at any point in the film.
No, he doesn't. But I can't reach him. But he's stood on a piece of sort of buckled metal. It looks like a piece of a snowspeeder with a rebellion symbol on it.
Okay.
So presumably this is just after the Battle of Hoth, where he's got down to see the destroyed shield generator and give himself a little pat on the back for routing the rebels from Hoth, I suppose.
Just before getting strangled by Vader for letting any of the rebels escape.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the snowtroopers almost done. I'll do Veers and Vader, and then the next one is Krennic, the Shore Troopers, and the Death Troopers from Rogue One. That's my next box.
Ooh.
Nice. Do you have those already, or?
Yeah, I've got those.
Yeah, nice.
Treated
Cool, we'll
myself
have
to those.
to,
They just come out last week, so I got them delivered last week. I've not opened the box yet. I'm going to do an unboxing, I think.
You'll have to keep us updated on how it goes, mate. And have you had any more games, like anything recently, like your Bolt Action or anything like that? No, just
No,
your
not
hobby?
not recently. There is some games coming up at the club, Star Wars Legion, on May the 4th. They're doing some games on a Sunday, but I haven't played Legion properly, so I don't really know what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go and have a look at that. I'm going to go and watch rather than get involved.
Fair. No, thanks for the update, dude. That's very cool. As for myself, I've had one big ongoing project since March from a Crag, which is carrying on with my Ultramarine stuff. Because I've got a campaign day that one of my local friends is running for 40k. So we're just going to have 3 games in a day. So we're going to have like 1,000 points, 1,500 points, 2,000 points.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be 4 of us on the Imperial side, 3 of us on Chaos, so it's pure Imperium versus Chaos. I think we're going to have some new Emperor's Children on the Chaos side. I believe we have an Iron Warriors player, and we have a... can't remember the other one, but we've got a good variety over there. And then for myself, I'll have Ultramarines. My friend Chris will have Black Templars. I think we've then got some Imperial Guard and something or other else joining us as well. So it should be pretty fun day, and kind of giving me a target to get all 2k of my Ultramarines painted up, basically. So obviously, as you can see on screen,
you can scale the commanders up in each game. Like just a captain in like the 1,000 point, Marnius Calgar in the 1,500, and Roboot Gulliman in the 2,000.
It's pretty much the idea, I think, of what the day is going to be. Yeah, it's going to be like an escalating thing. So, and I know Finn, my friend Finn, who's running it, he's going to be planning the narrative around it and whatnot for the different games. So, really looking forward to that. So yeah, as you can see, I think last time I showed off Marnius and his Victrix Honor Guards, they were done. And these are obviously the Blade Guard veterans that are going to go with him. So 6-man unit. Thank you. So they're all up and done, dusted now. I'm halfway through doing, which I haven't got a photo of, but it's here next to me. What currently looks like a White Scars Land Raider Redeemer, but it is not. It's just waiting for the blue to go on now. Pretty much all the other colours are more or less there, so I've just got to whack the
25 years old, apparently.
Yes, the Redeemer isn't, but the chassis is.
Original chassis, yeah. So it's kind of cool, actually, that I've been working on that. So I've got, I think, the Land Raider to finish off, and then I've got a couple of smaller units to do, and then I'll be ready to go, I think. Which will also go towards my New Year's resolution, of course, towards expanding my armies. So it's a good start on that. But that's currently my painting hobbying side of the thing. I think since the last episode I've had one game, which was against my friend Pete.
Is that your Shattered Coast thing again?
Yep, so some more Ravaged Coast. The Seraphon are continuing their and Count Mautel, he's my what's I call it? I say Skink Lord there, but it's not my blooming hell.
Old Blood?
No, the main psychic guy is the Toads on the
Slan.
How did I forget that? My brain went dead. Slan.
You were 20 questions there.
I know.
The floaty thing, the frog.
Yeah, he's on screen and I couldn't think of its name. So yeah, my Slan is his name, and he's
air marshal off Bucky O'Hare.
But sorry. So he was the whole narrative behind my Seraphon in the Ravaged Coast campaign is that he's trying to gain the attention of Croak. He reveres him effectively, and he's trying to obviously make himself noteworthy within the Ravaged Coast, and try to gain his attention and hopefully bring him to the battlefield alongside him later in the campaign. Part of my plan is kind of obviously this year to expand on my armies, and I thought I was going to get Croak anyway later this year, so hopefully by then I'll be at that point in the campaign, and then I can bring him in and it'll all cross over nicely. So this was my last game against Ossiarch Bone Reapers, just over 1,000 points. Managed to get a win in with the Seraphon. So
sweet.
It was basically a case of me chewing through a ton of bone, and the new temple that I managed to get in the campaign helped with that. The blasting terrain and causing earthquakes and rumbling into the ground. So those Poundland Tomb Kings got it good, as Ben would say. But yeah, that's pretty much, I think, my hobbying for the last week or two, and we'll see how it goes for the as we get to the next episode. What are you laughing at, Si?
Poundland Tomb Kings. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good one after the last one. I couldn't help but laugh every now and again, actually, whilst I was playing against them, because I kept looking at them and thinking, yeah, they really are just not
Not
really
as good as Doom Kings.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bone Reaper players. Sorry.
I had half the right mind, actually.
I'm not. It's your fault for choosing to play Bone Reapers.
Yeah, I did consider after the last episode we had next year I might make it a conversion project and do Tomb King's kit bash with some Aussie Arcs for an AOS army. I might have to do that. We'll wait and see.
Controversial.
I know.
Do a video series. Can I actually make Aussie Arc Bone Reapers look good?
Yeah. I mean, I always forget that,
Welcome
like,
to Tomb Kings.
for first edition of AOS, you were able to use your Tomb King's armies
Yep.
with AOS rules. I wish we still could, to be honest. But there we go.
DL, have you got enough in that glass?
Say again?
You got enough Vimto in that glass, whatever it was?
Vimto, oh, Scotch.
That 80-gallon glass.
Ribena.
With a bear, for those who live near Birmingham, you might recognise the glass. This is from the Birmingham German markets that we have here. So these are the ones that you hire. You fill up your beer all day long with them, and you can take them away if you don't pay your deposit back. So if you want a big flagon like this, go go German market and come away with a couple of them. So there you go. But guys, shall we move on to some community questions? Because I know
Let's do so.
collected a good number over the last few weeks actually, so we've got lots to get into. The first of which is hilarious. Me and Si were talking a bit about this beforehand, Ben, so we'll have to see what you think. S Barnett, and actually S Barnett, quick shout out to you. Well done on winning your Blood Bowl tournament at the weekend.
Get
you
in
cleaned
there.
house.
Well done.
Awesome trophy and whatnot. It looked ace. So congrats on that, and nice looking little Snotler Blood Bowl team you got there.
Can I just say as well, I had a thought about this. When we get together to play our little league, we should ask him.
Still happening.
It's going to happen, definitely. But we should ask him to come and be the commentator.
That could be pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Get him from like a couple of people from the Discord to come along and cheer along and heckle from the sidelines. But yeah, given he's such prolific Blood Bowler, it would seem like an excellent idea to get him to come and be our commentator.
But
you're not allowed to give the Scotland player help.
Blood Bowl is quite big, I think, with quite a few of our viewers on friends on Discord. So it did make me wonder whether we should maybe turn it into like an actual Blood Bowl league day or something.
Don't put pressure on me.
Morehammer.
Jeez.
Be pretty cool.
Bad enough.
So I was worried about getting them painted.
But anyway, I'm worried about getting them not dead.
Oh. Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's all still in the planning. But yes, Esponet82, thanks for sending in another topic question. He said, Big Blue Gilliman has sanctioned the founding of the Morehammer chapter of Marines to help secure the Imperium. So whose gene seed are you using? What is the induction ritual of the new chapter? And what are your roles in the fledgling chapter?
Ooh.
Now, sorry, you were saying to me you had a little bit of an idea with some of this before. So lay it down for us.
So Morehammer chapter. So I'd use Dark Angel's gene seed because everyone uses Ultramarines gene seed because it's pure and great. Woo! Yeah, it is. It's nice and stable. It's super pure. But so is Dark Angel's gene seed. There's no organ failure that we're aware of. Nothing like the Imperial Fist where they've lost the ability to spit acid and what have you. So I'd use Dark Angel's gene seed because they're cool and mysterious, and they were the First Legion. It's called the Morehammer chapter. Fair enough. It's all about knowledge and letting people know what's going on. So the induction process would be go forth into the galaxy and bring back something of great value, some piece of archaeotech or some relic. Don't let the Blood Ravens catch you because they'll want it. So yeah, that's one challenge. Don't let the Blood Ravens catch you. Bring it back, and then we've got to guess how much it's worth.
I love that.
Before it gets put into the chapter reliquary and what have you. So go and find something important in the galaxy. That's your induction thing. What role would I be? What were we saying before?
I said psychic.
Probably a librarian.
You're our predictor, aren't you, Si?
Psychic,
things right. So
yeah. I'll be
Ben,
the chief librarian then, yeah.
Ben, you can make your own mind up on yours, but I was saying you'd have to be some sort of like mad kind of like chaplain or chanter or.
I was going to say, I would certainly have to be...
Ben, I said Void Master because you like Battlefleet Gothic, so you might be master of the fleet.
Well, see, I do like Battlefleet Gothic, but on the other hand, yeah, I do an awful lot of cheerleading. So maybe I'd be the chaplain, but instead of being the grim, brooding chaplain, I'd
bring the Benedict.
I'll be running around going, "Come on, lads! Everyone, get up there! Get down the bridge! Get it! No, Jenkins, stop flagging! Get running!" They were whistling.
No, don't eat the grenade. Throw it.
All right, now you've eaten it. Run towards the enemy as fast as you can before you explode. Yeah.
When you throw the grenade, drop the pin.
If you've swallowed your pin, just throw the grenade anyway.
That's it.
I was going to say, I mean, in terms of Gene Seed, well, I mean, our logo is kind of a servo skull almost. It's the skull with kind of the microphone. That does feel very Iron Hands to me. I mean,
That's
true. Ferrus Manus, he got beheaded. This is a skull. That's, that's kind of fitting. The whole kind of bionics microphone that lends itself towards the idea of being modified and purified. Like imagine a unit of Iron Hands, except instead of modifying themselves to lop off one of their hands, they've all got like bionic voice boxes, like loyalist noise marines. The chaplain with giant amplifiers on his back so he can cheer everybody on from the back. I'm getting lost in the thought here, but if I had to pick a Gene Seed based purely on like quality of Gene Seed, I don't know. I mean, Space Wolves could be a lot. Well, no, it can't be Space Wolves because Luke can't grow a beard. So we can't be Space Wolves because only Cy and I've got beards. So Luke is immediately banned from being a Space Wolf.
The only thing I haven't kind of suggested what my kind of role would be yet, and I feel like I'm the lizard guy, right? I like the lizard men and Seraphon. They don't exist in our world. But I could be this crazy sort of guy who works on the Xenos side of our, like, in Xenos research and all that sort of stuff.
This is sounding an awful lot like heresy to me.
Well,
hello? Is that the Inquisition?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found him. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Interestingly, bear in mind that the Slan did actually exist in the 41st millennium.
It's true.
So they did. It's just,
and then our chapter would start to wonder why our vehicles are starting to be shaped like dinosaurs, which you guys wouldn't have a clue what they are.
Well, but, we just see one of the challenges could be go and find an old Exodite and beat him up and nick his mount and bring it back.
Well, yeah.
Ben, did you decide on what Gene Seed you were having then?
I am going to go Iron Hands. I think the Iron Hands Gene Seed, it is a robust Gene Seed, I mean, it produces some fairly hardy chapters like the Brazen Claws and that. Headstrong, Sons of Medusa. So, no, I'm going to go Iron Hands, and the induction ritual that you have to go through is that you have to listen to a recording of all of the lore of the chapter before you're allowed to go out and like unleash the word of the Emperor on the galaxy.
Fair enough.
Loudly and enthusiastically.
I nearly said Thousand Suns Gene Seed.
And the lore starts with the voice going,
and
now the news.
Yeah, to be fair, he didn't say it has to be an Imperial chapter.
Ooh, that is true. But on the other hand, most of the Chaos chapters are fairly manky in terms of their genes. I suppose if you were to take the Loyalist Warhounds Legion before they got broken by Angeron, they were pretty awesome. But I mean, yeah,
I'm actually starting to like
them.
this idea more and more because some of the machinery in the Iron Warrior side of things, which I suppose would be your Chaos version of Iron Hands there, Ben. So then, I have some dinosaur sort of shaped machinery in there I can work with. I'm okay with that. So I suppose that would be my choice.
I'm surprised you haven't said salamanders, given all their dinosaur.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
that's true, actually.
Their logo is literally like a dinosaur skull.
It's dragon more, isn't it? Like, I suppose, but yeah, it's close enough. Yeah,
it's a big lizard. I mean, up to a certain point, a dinosaur is just a dragon that can't breathe fire.
That's true. So yeah, I suppose you could go with that, and we could just go. I'd probably maybe just go even heavier.
It's very
into
thematic as well because they like the anvil of fire and hammers. Morehammer. Very
That's
salamander,
true, actually.
And I don't think I've ever seen a salamander's miniature with a beard.
Yeah,
so if I were choosing it,
you just keep saying it got singed off in the anvil in the fires of Nocturne.
Nocturne, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I like both of your ideas for sort of induction ritual. Although maybe I could say something like, if we're going alongside the podcast, maybe when we're in sort of like the main host ship or whatever, if you to being an inductee, you have to be part of like the sort of, what would you call it? Not a local podcast, but sort of like it. What would you call it if you had some sort of like an announcement thing every day or something where you have to update the ship on like goings on or whatever? You'd
Morning
have to
prayers.
yeah, so yeah, I suppose it would be that for Imperium, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you have to be part of like taking part in
Shipwide
that.
bulletin.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I was thinking about. Yeah,
Chaplain
you have to
comes
be.
over the ship's PA. And now the news.
This morning we have Private so and so doing his induction bulletin.
Talking about why drop
Shipwide
pods are
announcement.
no
Has
good.
anyone seen
Yeah.
Lieutenant Titus's right shoe? Look out for the gobbo.
Yeah,
Last
running
thing
round
neck and
under hives of ship. I love it. Well, I think we got a nice mix there. I hope that answered your question somewhat, Sparnet. That was a fun one though to do. A nice quick one here. Charak says, "What army, any game system, so it doesn't have to be Warhammer, will you never, ever, ever collect?"
Poundland Tomb Kings.
You know what? That's a very
Seconded.
good shout. Yeah,
Second,
Yeah, well,
thirded.
for
well,
AOS,
that's sorted.
yeah, easy question. Yeah, no, I wouldn't ever play or see out Bone Reapers because aesthetically, I think they're horrific. But Nurgle for me, be it 40k or Age of Sigmar, I don't like them at all. Apart from Plague Marines, I don't mind Plague Marines. I just find the whole sort of. But you could say the sculptors and the designers have done the job because I just find them horrible, and I don't fancy collecting them or painting them or building them or fielding them. They just don't appeal to me.
The aesthetic.
Because they're horrible, basically. So fair play to them. It's not my bag.
I think if I was to say one that isn't Ossiarch Bone Reapers, I've just never been keen on some of the straightforward human factions. I just find them a bit, I don't know, like a bit bland maybe. I don't know. But it's not to say I don't think I'd never collect them.
Oh
That's the
yeah,
thing
Fire
with those.
Slayers. Yeah.
Oh really? Don't
I
have
have
Fire Slayers at all?
no interest in
No.
collecting Fire
Dwarf
Slayers
Slayers, great. Fire Slayers, again. Where are the goddamn shoes gone?
I feel like it should be that it's the meme for Fire Slayers, Dwarf Slayer, Troll Slayers.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
no, they took one of the coolest things from Warhammer Fantasy Dwarves and ruined it. I just do
Fair
not
enough.
like literally Gotrek's reaction in Realm Slayer when he first meets the Fire Slayers and he's like,
Where's your shoes?
What?
just how about no? Yeah, I do not like Fire Slayers. I don't like the models. I don't like the lore.
Soulless.
I just
Well, there are some rumours
It's
out
a
there
no
that they
from
might be
me.
disappearing sooner than later. So there you go. We'll have to wait and see on that. But yes. Okay, so moving on. I have to go down a bit to find the next one. We're going on to Syndraconic's put in a couple of questions for us to end it off on. The second of which will be a bit deep conversation to kind of finish off the show. But the first one, question in honor of Grand Cathay and their most glorious rulers, who is your favourite dragon miniature in Warhammer?
ooh.
I'm
got
not
an easy
entirely
answer
certain
for
on
this
this one, but Sai, go on.
Well, I mean, there's loads of really nice old dragons, some of which they're bringing back, but
They are.
the new dragon that they've
Yeah,
announced for
I was gonna say
Grand
that, you know.
Cathay, with her in her two forms as the human and the dragon, best one I've seen. I love it. I think it's
It
brilliant.
is. I think that may be cheating saying that one though.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose. I don't know, to be honest.
So
I like
could
the
rattle.
old.
Go on.
I was going to say I like the really old high elf on the
Yeah.
high elf prince on the dragon from like
Classic.
fourth
the
and
one
fifth
that's the
edition.
low down one.
Yeah,
Not the S-shaped one. Sorry. You mean the S-shaped one?
yeah, I like that one.
Okay, because there was one before that was kind of the dragon was low to
I
the
like that
ground
one.
and the elf was riding on its
Oh,
back.
with the head facing forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That
Yeah, I know
was
which one you
old.
mean.
That was
No, I
way
quite like the
before
old, the S
yeah,
shape
I
one.
mean, they're all cool, the older ones. I
Does,
was going to say
does
as well,
Azhag the slaughter account, considering he's on a wyvern?
It's a wyvern, not a dragon.
Oh, okay.
if I was
the
to
I always
Say
love that
say
one.
a couple, along the same lines as you, say, even like the new Soulblight name character on the zombie dragon looks
That's pretty
freaking
epic.
awesome. And and then also there was is it the Carmine on the dragon in the old
the
Forge
Forge
World one?
World
That was an
character.
awesome one in my opinion as well. I love that one. But Ben, any ideas? I'm sure you got.
So yeah, I mean, there's loads of awesome old world dragon miniatures. I'm going to quick shout out to Sarnil, the Dragon Lord, that they released for Dogs of War, who had a tiny little dragon.
I don't remember.
Pet dragon. Check him up in a search for an image of him. He was a really cool
I'll have a look
miniature.
now, yeah.
He's kind of an exiled dragon prince because he was just, even for an elf, he was too smug and proud and full of himself. Equally, the 6th edition Imric model that they released, so the newer version of Imric, who's got his hair blowing in the wind and a lance held pointing forward, that is lovely. The finger picture, the Engren van Horstman miniature with the original double-headed Chaos Dragon Bordros, that one is a kit that I have long wanted to own. But I think the best dragon miniature that Games Workshop ever produced is the Smorg miniature that they produced for the Hobbit.
Oh, that is a good shout.
Complete with Bilbo hiding against the pillar and the huge
one
base.
they've
It
ever
is
done?
the biggest model Games Workshop have produced. Certainly the biggest dragon. I don't know if it's the biggest model they've ever produced. I think that still goes to the Manta. Because that's like...
The Khorne one.
No, the Tau tank. The Tau.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That is, I think, the biggest model they've ever produced.
With all the troops and the devilfish in the back of it. That's definitely the biggest one.
I think the Khorne dragon may be bigger than Smorg. I'm not sure. There we are. There's Sarno. Yeah, and he's got a little pet dragon on his banner top at the top.
The only thing I would say is with a lot of the old world dragons, they all look fairly similar in the way they're like.
Same...
Yeah.
It was
but
the
they
same
are
plastic
cool.
dragon kit with bits added on. That's why.
Literally, yeah.
If you find the 6th edition Imric model, it's exactly the same plastic dragon, but with a different head, claws, and rider. But the Smorg model, I think, is probably the best.
That's pretty cool.
And they were helped, of course, by the fact that Weta Workshop had done such a good job of designing him. I think that was
pretty awesome.
It's one of those ones of if I won the lottery, I'd buy it just to say that I owned it. Because it's such a nice model.
Shout out to Sprues and Brews, actually. They've been a little while ago, they were doing building one up and painting it slowly.
Really?
And wow. That's really quite a cool project. I think thing is, if I got something like that, it would have to be my year budget and like practically my year's budget and like also year's hobbying just to do that model. So yeah,
I guess it's the equivalent of buying like a Warlord Titan or something.
Oh, yeah.
It is just a huge.
It's the same. Like if the day, by the way, they bring back the Dread Saurian to purchase, that's half of my year's budget and hobby work down the drain. So there you go. But
what's the more serious question then?
Yeah, so I mean, this is one we can really get our teeth into before we close up for
this week's episode.
Say again.
Is it Beast Lord Rakarth?
Rakarth, yeah. Well spotted.
Oh, Dark Elves.
How did you spot that from just a quick glance then?
It's old world is my jam.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Yeah,
Ben is like an old world cyborg. Come back from the future. It's where old world takes over all of the other systems in Warhammer.
As it should be.
And they've sent him back to help speed up the process. Yeah. But thanks, Sindraconic, and his second question, and the one we'll end on. It's quite a big topic, though. Something we've discussed before, but with the seeming success of the old world, do you think in subsequent editions we'll see them move the lore timeline forward, catching up to just before the end times, giving us a functional Warhammer Fantasy 9th edition, perhaps bringing in the legacy factions they are not creating arcane journals for in the current edition? So obviously there's lots we can dig into there. I know we've discussed before. Obviously, we've got Grand Cathay now. I know after they were revealed, we quickly touched on the fact, didn't we, that we thought, does that mean Kislev are now maybe coming next year as well? Would make a lot of sense. And then, of course, Legacy after that, and you're more moving forward the timeline.
Well, I'm intrigued to hear what you guys think of this, because I know what I think.
Well, I find part of his question interesting where he said subsequent editions. It might not even come to an edition change. I think we are, and they've said as much, really. They are going to slowly move the timeline forward because they're going to release all these opening factions, which we thought it was 9. Then it turns out it's going to be 10 because we've got Grand Cathay. Then presumably after that, there's going to be more, whether it's Kislev or whether they're going to revisit some of the legacy factions like Dark Elves, I don't know, maybe vampire counts or something like that. That they want to move eventually forward to the Great Chaos Incursion, don't they, Ben? With what's he called?
Asavakul.
Asavakul. So they want to
Magnus
eventually
Pliers.
end up at that point, don't they?
Yeah,
Because they've said as much. That's what they're aiming for, but it's a slow burn to get there.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it's going to be an addition change, but I think it's going to crawl forward timeline wise to at least that point, and perhaps even beyond.
So I think we're gonna get the legacy factions at some point. I don't know the timeline on that. I don't think in the next year or so. I think the next one might well be Kislev after Grand Cathay.
It's going to be a slow burn, I think.
Yeah, and I think they'll still want to keep it roughly within the current timeline, and with Kislev they can probably do that. And then it's just a case of going forward from there. Like you said, Si, I'm not sure they will do a new edition. I'm not sure.
No, I mean the rules are in a pretty decent place,
Yeah.
to be fair. So you're not just going to.
It's interesting though, because obviously if you compare it to something like obviously Horus Heresy, they have technically done new editions for.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
they did updated starter boxes.
I'm assuming, Ben, you think the same. Do you think they won't do it? A new edition?
So I do not think they will do a new edition. I think that they will at some point do new starter boxes.
Oh yeah,
with
I agree with
perhaps an updated version of the rulebook in. So I think it might be one of those things where they publish FAQs and little kind of balance updates online, and then at some point, perhaps in a couple of years, release an updated rulebook that has all of those little tweaks included in it.
Yeah,
as part
some
of
tidying up wording here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah, and as part of like another 2-army collecting starter box. So I think that is more likely than a new edition. I don't think that we are going to get all the way up to the end times.
No.
Partly because that's over 200 years away. I mean, that's the 2500, 2500.
Yeah, but you think they will make big skips forward in time, though, surely, over the...
I think that we might find that over the next 3 years, they move us to the Great War Against Chaos. 2 years, 3 years, that's 40 years they're going to cover. So if you think about that on a scale of going, okay, we're going to cover basically 10 years every year, say, 3 to 4 years, let's move 40 years forward during that time. To get us to 2,500, that would be another 20 years? Before we reach the end times? I mean, if I'm still hobbying in 20 years' time and we're still doing the podcast in 20 years' time, you're like, welcome to episode... Si by that point looks actually like the old man. And I'm thinking, and now the news.
It's not great.
We'll
see light.
No, I think what is more likely is that we will get to the Great War Against Chaos and slightly beyond.
Oh, sorry.
And I don't think we will go much beyond that in this timeline, in this era. I think what's more likely is that they might at some point go, hey, this has been really successful. So let's play some games set in the year, 1300, the Great War Against the Skaven or something. Or let's do a pack that releases the Wars of the Vampire Counts, and let's have loads of, hype up about all the armies versus the Von Carsteins, the dwarves and the humans and the elves from an alliance.
Gaps, in between the end times and the Great War of Chaos, there's gaps where there's nothing been written, and they could basically come up with what they want, as long as it doesn't contradict anything.
But I don't think we're going to go all the way up to the end times, partly because I think Games Workshop doesn't want to they do not either. Want they don't want none of them they want to admit that they were wrong in launching the end times, but I think also it would just trigger a load of unnecessary shouting and trolling and people kicking up a fuss unreasonably so, when we can just be really happy with the game that they've given us and the timeline they've given us. And I think in some respects, I suppose what we were asked is essentially giving us a Warhammer 9th edition. We've got Warhammer 9th edition. It's called the Old World. It's basically 9th edition. It's just not set in the same time period. There's nothing, if you want to play games set in the time leading up to the end times, there's nothing to stop you. Absolutely nothing to stop you from playing games set then. It's just... why would you? Because we've got a nice little sandbox. What I think we are going to see is we've said we've got the surprise 10th faction Cathay.
Narrative
Well, narrative expansions is the obvious one to go. So they've set up the Border Princes for being a setting for like narrative gaming, really kind of early on in the generation of the old world. And I keep waiting for them to go. And here is War in the Border Princes, a self-contained narrative pack. I'm fully expecting that's what we're going to see once.
They said they're going to do some campaign
packs around.
as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think War of the Border Princes will be probably the first one. And I think in terms of legacy factions, Dark Elves will eventually leave kind of Age of Sigmar because it's gotten to the point where they are the only ones left in the cities of Sigmar. And it's just weird. They're like the guests that hung around at the party after everybody else has gone home. You're kind of there cleaning up cups in the kitchen and looking at them going, it's getting late. You know,
and you think Dark Elves would probably be the least likely to stay in the first place compared to the others, maybe?
And they are
like
just
really
very much part of the lore for this era because way before we get to the Great War Against Chaos, 2270 was the Battle of Finneval Plain. It was the huge war, the invasion of the Dark Elves invading Ulthuan. So it seems mad for them not to do that as a narrative pack. And in fact, I mean, in terms of talking about two armies that you could release as an updated starter box, Dark Elves and High Elves, throw that into a starter box, two armies. Or not even two armies, do it like they did with the Bretonnians and the Tomb Kings. Dark Elf box, High Elf box, with an updated rulebook in there. That would be an excellent way to get a Dark Elf army.
The only thing I'd probably question then after what you've just said then. So obviously a lot of people are questioning how long it's going to be though until they get their arcane tomes or journals or whatever for like their own legacy factions.
Yeah.
Which is the only thing. So no, which, is the only other thing I would say really. But maybe they might meet halfway, and I know they said originally they won't update the legacy factions rules, but I think they probably will have to in the next year or two, just to kind of at least quell people like myself. I'd love to see Skaven or Liz. That's my favourite era, like the Lustria, all that sort of stuff.
What they could, it's like they surprised us by doing the Demons, essentially an updated version of the Demons Codex as like an online download.
Exactly.
If they were to do like an online Arcane Journal, I mean, hell, that would be an amazing thing for them to do in the run up to Christmas. Hey, 1 week, every week for the 4 weeks before Christmas, let's have a Lizardman Arcane Journal, digital edition, Skaven Arcane Journal, the Vampire Counts one, a Dark Elf one. Gosh, happy community. Doesn't have to be much. Just throw a few bits in there that's not in the.
This is where your guys' lore, especially you, Ben, probably would be better than mine. Is there an excuse for a very small number of any of those factions that we haven't had yet to exist in the coming times?
Absolutely.
So you could do something like, how in the Arcane Journals, like for example, my Tomb Kings, you can run like the Cetra detachment or whatever. You could, like you said, leading up to Christmas, something like that in a year or two's time, do something like that for each of the factions that we haven't had, just to keep people tided over.
I mean, like I said, Dark Elves, they're obviously very present in the lore because of the stuff that's going to happen with Finneval Plain. Lizardmen, I mean, even if we didn't even touch on Lustria, they've got a presence in the Southlands, which, funnily enough, is just south of Khemri, and Khemri have just gone on a massive rampage. So the Lizardmen aren't going to stay quiet during that. They could do a Southlands force as part of that. That would be awesome. In terms of Vampire Council, we've already got some vampire stuff on the map. They've already shown us, vampire heraldry and stuff on the keep. There's absolutely nothing to stop them doing, like, a Blood Dragon list, or, if we're going to the Border Princes, that's right next to the Badlands, with what was the kind of Cult of Ashoran, so you could have, like, Strigoi and stuff in there. And, I think, actually, just saying about Vampire Counts, given the lovely models that we've now had released for Soulblight Gravelords, most of the kits that were part of the Vampire Army lists kind of back in 7th and 8th edition Fantasy aren't part of the range now for Age of Sigmar. So there would be nothing to stop them doing what they did for, like Orcs and Goblins and everything else that had kind of older kits, and re-releasing those kits specifically under the Old World brand. Skeletons they can re-release, zombies they can re-release, direwolves, Mounted Whites now. Those are all kits that are entirely surplus to requirements in Age of Sigmar.
And then the other thing we haven't even touched on is just even expanding the current factions we've got with new stuff.
Very true. There's plenty of room. There is loads of corpse in like the Tomb King lands that haven't been touched on. There's loads of you know, like orc tribes and stuff. I mean, we still haven't seen only a fraction of kind of what the orcs were up to at this point in time. We've only seen a few of the forces for the Empire. There's loads that they could do still, and I hoped that they were going to do. The moot! Give us the moot, damn it! Surprise Arcane Journal, Halflings! Yes! I'm well up for that. I think there's a lot left to be done in the time period that we are gaming in at the moment, well before we even look beyond the Great War Against Chaos. I mean, the Great War Against Chaos itself is going to take ages to kind of run through, because you've got all kinds of different sort of areas that the war was happening.
There've been multiple books, I think.
Yeah, I think you could easily see it as being like the Horus Heresy series, having 3 or 4 books setting out what's going on.
I don't know about you guys. I don't think we'll see any of that for at least a couple of years.
No, definitely not.
At least that. Si, anything else you think to touch on that question at all?
No. I think we've covered it.
Covered it pretty well, really, there, I think. It's exciting. It's exciting to think of the future that for Old World and what we're currently getting for it. It is doing well, I think, in terms of, you know, I still see people playing it locally here. I think people are enjoying having some of those old rules back as well. We're definitely going to have an episode where our main topic talks about the current state of the, like, 40k and Age of Sigmar, and how they could learn some lessons from likes of Old World coming back. I think, you know,
definitely.
I think that could definitely be a talking point. But otherwise, I think we can leave it there, really, guys. That's all our questions for this. I have a couple off of Reddit that we can do another time. But I wanted to end on that one from Discord this week because I knew it would be a good main topic for us to chat about. So there we go. But before we head off, and I'm losing my voice, so I definitely will. Si, thanks as always, bud. It's been fun to catch up and have a chat. Where can people find you, and are you doing any sort of content you want to let people know about over on your channel?
You can find me on YouTube at Hobbywaffle, and also on Blue Sky and X and Facebook as well, same username. Content wise at the minute, I'm going to be doing an unboxing for Shatterpoint. That'll probably be the next one. Got a couple of speculation videos lined up as well, and some other unboxings, and then I need to get moving on my Dreadfleet painting thing because it's just ground to a halt. So yeah, my apologies for that one. I did say it was coming and it's not come yet. So
did they not to drag this on at all briefly? Did they announce anything new at Adepticon then for Shatterpoint for like Star Wars minis or anything like that?
Yeah, there was a lot for Legion. I mean, the Legion Adepticon preview was absolutely massive.
It's huge.
A lot of people are quite happy with it because they were worried about the state of the game and, you know, whether it's going to have support going forward. But there's tons planned for Legion. Some new starter boxes that look really good.
Cool.
For Shatterpoint, they did some new squad packs. Some based on the Ahsoka series that are coming next year. Some decent stuff coming, but they've still not gone and announced Qui-Gon yet, which I was expecting to see because they've done a lot of the prequel characters, but still no Qui-Gon. And then no Scout Troopers from Return of the Jedi yet either, which I'm a bit annoyed about.
I'm sure there's still loads they can probably cover.
There's loads. Yeah, there's plenty they can bring.
Which character would you have with Scout Troopers though? Because there isn't really a named character on the Moon of Endor.
No, that's a good point. I think you would probably do. Perhaps they could do another Vader maybe.
Doesn't really fit with the vibe of the Scout Troopers.
No, I think it'd be two Scout Troopers.
Scout Vader.
No, I think you get two Scout Troopers as your support. Your secondary maybe a Scout Sniper, and then your primary an Imperial officer. You know the guy, you rebel scum from the bunker.
Oh yeah.
I think perhaps an Imperial officer is but it'd just be a bit of a boring primary. That's the only problem.
Scout Troopers and then Ewoks as the counterforce.
Well, there's already an Ewoks one out. Yeah, there's an Ewok squad pack out. There's two. You get Leia and the Ewoks and 3PO.
Do they have wickets? Is there a wicket one in there? Does it have wickets? Oh, I might have to get that.
They are cool if you haven't seen them, Ben, to be fair.
I didn't know they did them. I'm going to have to look it up after we're done here.
Yeah, there's two different ones. Have a look. There's some cool squad boxes.
That's cool. Ben, what about yourself?
You can find me over on Blue Sky and Instagram. It's 90% Geek. And of course, over on my own channel with the same handle, the most recent video on there is a daddy-daughter throwdown. It's me versus my daughter building cardboard scenery because I previously speculated that she might do a better job of it than me after I glued myself to a variety of it whilst trying to build the cardboard scenery that you got in the 5th edition starter box. Yes, so you can check out exactly whether or not I was right, whether or not she is in fact better at me. There is an awful lot of kind of fun banter and some kind of tween side eye being thrown at me as embarrassing dad in there. So yeah, go and check it out.
Nice. Yeah, I've yet to check that one out myself, but it looks fun though. I'll be it's on my list for my next hobbying day. And for me, guys, yeah, Wargaming Luke, Blue Sky. I'm gonna try and start posting on Instagram a bit more again, because I haven't done it in a little while. So I'll be on both of those, and of course here, doing the podcast and whatnot and videos for you guys. And as before we do go off, guys, like I said, check out Discord, join us over there. You can chat to us in between episodes. We'll love to see you there. But until next time, as always, stay safe out there, guys. Enjoy your hobbying and happy wargaming.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.